Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Hey y'all, aloha, happy Sunday. Welcome to Allergy Central. There is something in the air, and oh man, is it messing with me. It has been quite a week. As you've all noticed, I did not get a video put out this weekend. Hopefully, that'll change next weekend. Bunch of stuff going on in the background to include working on a furnace that decided to go south and getting a bunch of yard work done while we were in good weather. But this too shall pass. Okay, today's an open Q&A, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and put them over in the chat, and we will get to them in due course. I currently have 5 queued up, but we have time, so go for it. But before we get into anything at all, I want to say hello to and send a shout out to my friend Steve over at Harneal Media. Now, I've been talking about Steve for quite a while, and I'm going to continue until he tells me to stop. Suddenly got the hiccups, and I don't know why. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Look, it there's nothing else I can say other than if you're even toying with the idea of creating a website, a web store, putting your products or services, maybe you like to create designs, maybe you like to create models, maybe you have projects that you finished and want to sell, you want to offer to the public, or you want to offer your design surfaces or services for those of you who can speak to the public without a bunch of commissions, without a bunch of listing fees, and without that service listing your competition's projects that are similar to yours on the same page as your product, then the best way to do that is with your own website. It puts you in 100% control. You control inventory, you control the listings, and you don't have to deal with a bunch of third-party nonsense. Do yourself a favor. Head over to harnealmedia.com. There's a link in the description of every video on this channel, and it's that way for a reason because it's 100% personalized service. He's extremely competitive when it comes to pricing, and he's just damn good at what he does. So do yourself a favor, head over to harnealmedia.com, link in the description, and shoot Steve a message. Hit that contact us link, let him know what you're looking for, and he'll get back to you. You'll be satisfied with the service, believe me, and make a friend along the way because when you're dealing with Harneal Media, you're dealing with Steve, not some nameless, faceless person in a call center somewhere. Steve, thank you very much for everything you do. I appreciate you more than you know. And keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Okay, let's get into all this madness that we have going on here. Oh man, again, it's been a week, so I tend to take my Sundays seriously, so that I can do this, which I find to be a lot of fun, and also kind of back off from things that have been going on all over the course of the week. So let's get right into it. We've got some questions in the queue. One is just a comment. It wasn't a question, but I'm going to get to it right now. Butch Miller says, you guys need to stop recommending tools. As a tool junkie, I got to try them. Amazon shows up and the wife asks, what tool did you buy this time? You can't blame us. This is one of those hobbies that are a bit pricey. Kind of like a lathe. If you've ever worked with a lathe, you know the lathe is a big um, a big investment, but that's actually the cheapest part because now you got to buy all those tools. You got to buy different tool rests. You got to buy different jigs, and you got to make different jigs, and you got to do this, that. It's an avalanche. I too am a tool junkie, big time tool junkie. Okay, it kind of satisfies that squirrel attention span, because they're like, oh, shiny, I need that. But then I sit back and I think, do I really need that? Do I really? Am I going to use it? And I kind of took this same approach when I did the CNC machine. It would be great. It would be absolutely fantastic to have a machine I could throw a sheet of plywood up on the bed, clamp it down or screw it down or mount it some way, and then I had to stop and think about it. How many times am I actually going to do that? You know, it would be great to have a whiz bang tool that does 52 things all at once. But how often am I actually going to use that? I mean, I've got tools on my wish list on Amazon that have been there for 5 or 6 years, and I still haven't pulled the trigger because I just simply haven't needed them. So, if it makes my job easier, if it makes it faster, if it makes it safer, I'll go ahead and pull the trigger, especially if I need it right now to finish a project. But single use tools that I don't have a current use for right now, I put it over in that wish list. And when the need overcomes the hesitation, whether it be for money or space or what have you, then I'll go ahead and pull the trigger. Um, I'm with you, Russell. I've got tools I'll never use again, and no, I don't want to part with them. Same thing. Same thing. When we moved up here to Oregon, I sold my radial arm saw, and I loved that thing. A lot of people think radial arm saws are unsafe. The tool itself is not unsafe. Certain operations on it are unsafe, but that's down to the person. So, you know, it's one of those things where if I need it bad enough, I'll buy it. But I have to have some internal discipline to say, I can't have it. I don't need it. I won't use it. And I'm 64 years old and I'm finally getting to the point to where I can actually do that. Because believe me, I've got I've got a bunch of stuff in here that I use maybe once in a blue moon, and a bunch of stuff that I've never used. I've got router bits that have never been in the collet, and I probably never will use them. But what can you say? And thankfully, I have a wife who understands that tools are an investment. We were both aircraft mechanics in the military, so she understands that if I need to buy a tool, it's because I need it. I don't just buy stuff because it's pretty, you know. So, well, yeah, I have tools that I bought in case I need them sometimes. So do I. So do I. I've got a bunch of them. I've got um, I've got a I've got two different glue line rip blades that I use for various occasions, and I've got crosscut blades, with like 80 tooth and things of that nature. I do have a legitimate need for those. But melamine blades, I've got one in the wish list, but I haven't needed it, so I haven't bought it. So who knows? Let's see here. Now let's get into the real questions. But yes, I fully understand that, Butch. Just, kind of let her down slowly. And when you buy a tool, here's the deal. Here's the deal clincher. Make her something that uses that tool so she appreciates the investment. You know, it works. So, okay. Kurt over at Crafty Jans says, I have an epoxy question. Can I apply polyurethane to the wood before doing an epoxy inlay rather than using clear epoxy to coat the project to prevent bleed? The short answer to the long question is maybe. The long answer is you need to reach out to the manufacturer of the epoxy. The secret that not many epoxy manufacturers put out there is about 99% of the epoxies on the market today that we use for like epoxy inlays and stuff. About 99.9% of them are urethane based. So they're completely compatible with polyurethane. I use them as a finish coat over the top, as a matter of fact, rather than doing a flood coat. This is especially true if I want a satin finish. I'll sand uh, to a nice, smooth 400 grit and wipe down with mineral spirits. And then I'll put on 2 coats of gloss urethane and then 1 coat of satin urethane, sanding between each coat. And I get a nice satin finish that it's almost impossible to tell the difference between that and a flood coat, except for the sheen, of course. Um, there are exceptions to the urethane rule. There are polyester resins. There are all kinds of resins out there. So reach out to the manufacturer and make sure that urethane is compatible, and you should be fine. You know, they'll tell you yes or no. I see a lot of people recommending shellac. Shellac is also good, um, but make sure you're using de-waxed shellac. You'll find de-waxed shellac in a lot of shellac-based sealers. Like I believe it's called Zinsser Bullseye is a shellac-based sanding sealer, but it is de-waxed. Um, there can be some incompatibility with wax, and that can cause adhesion problems. So be careful there. But try it in scrap and see if you get a good product. So Kimberly says Alumilite works fine for me. Alumilite is urethane based. Yes. So it is compatible with polyurethane. So you can make your own shellac sealer. You can get a normal 3-pound cut of store-bought shellac like Zinsser. What is it? Seal Coat? No, it's not Seal Coat. I can't remember the name of it, but Zinsser shellac finish, whether it be clear, amber, what have you. You can make your own sealer with that. It's a 4-to-1 ratio, 4 parts denatured alcohol, 1 part shellac. It won't de-wax the shellac, but it will thin it down to the point to where it's almost imperceptible. And it's been my experience that that doesn't cause any adhesion problems. A lot of people, and here's where we're getting into it. A lot of people will tell you you never apply polyurethane over shellac because the wax will cause adhesion problems. That's true if you don't know what you're doing. In fact, urethane manufacturers and shellac urethane manufacturers and shellac manufacturers will tell you the same thing. Don't apply urethane over shellac. That's because of the wax. But again, if you thin it down, 4 parts denatured alcohol, 1 part shellac, you should have no issues. Hardwood floor refinishers have been doing that for decades, and there's been no issues. An insider from one of the finish manufacturers let me know the secret behind that. They found it easier to say, don't do it, than deal with all the problems associated from people who don't want to follow instructions. So if you want to use a shellac under a polyurethane, thin it down or used a de-waxed shellac. That's the thing. That's the hard part. But the short answer is yes, if the epoxy you're using is compatible with urethane. So let's see here. Ed Appleton asked, last week you talked about rest machining. trying to wrap my head around it. When we use clearance tools when pocketing, could that be considered a form of rest machining? In an abstract way, Ed, yes, it could. It's similar to, it's more in line, however, with a roughing and then a finishing tool path. It's less about um, rest machining than it is allowing the clearance path to remove a bulk of the material to make things easier on your finishing bit. Rest machining is, you're not trying to make things easier on the bit. You're using a smaller diameter bit to pick up the detail that the larger diameter bit can't get into rather. So it's kind of the same in the abstract in that you're using two bits and one is cleaning up after another. But rest machining, the REST, take RE and ST from remaining stock. So it's actually just doing the details that the larger bit can't get to, if that makes sense. It's similar. As my grandfather used to like to tell me, yeah, it's the same thing, only different. I don't know if that helps you wrap your head around anything, but you know, what can you say? So let's see here. Ralph's got a multiple part question that I'm catching up with. Let's see here. Oh, my wife Linda chimed in. He finished my spinning wheel with shellac, then sprayed urethane on it. He did that 23 years ago, and it still looks as good as when he just finished it. Yeah, it does, and except for the bumps and scrapes and all that other good stuff. Kimberly is asking, can we see your wheel? Let me look. See, I know I've got a picture of it on this computer because we've had it, as she said, for 23 years. Let me see if I can find it. I know I have one on here somewhere. Is this it? I believe this is it. Wow, it's a bad picture. Okay, yeah. It looks a lot brighter than it actually is. This was taken up here about 15 years after I finished it. It was finished with amber shellac, and wow, these are rotten pictures. It was finished with amber shellac and then top coated with a satin urethane. The color is a lot deeper. I don't know why these pictures look so bright yellow. Because it's not that bright. It's more the color of down here. And you can see the bumps and bruises and where it's been smacked around. But yeah, that's her daily spinner. So, and hand sanding everything was something. So, yeah, she's had that for, what did you say, 23 years? Something like that. So, yeah, this was taken out front on our deck. So, okay. Well, anyway, yeah, that's a little side excursion, but that is polyurethane over shellac. It was they call it a spit coat, which again, 4 parts denatured alcohol and 1 part amber shellac. Or excuse me, yeah, 1 part amber shellac. So Kimberly said, my mom had an antique store in Julian, California called Spinning Wheel Antiques. Okay. Yeah. Linda is a collector. She currently has 23 wheels, 22 wheels, I think. Why gloss layers under the satin final coat? The gloss has a has more solids without a flattening agent. So they will come on smoother and seal better than the satin will. One coat of clear gloss will seal probably twice as well as one coat of satin. Or, excuse me, 2 coats of satin. And it's cheaper because of the flattening agent involved. It's just a few cents, but me being me, those few cents count. Okay. 24 wheels. That's right. No, I did not make that, Kimberly. That's way above my pay grade. That spinning wheel it's made by a Polish company called Kromski, and that model is their Symphony. And it's when she got that in 2002, she paid $360 for it, and now they're a little over $900 to buy a new one. But it served her well. She spun so many more miles of yarn on that than either one of us could probably count. So, no, I did not make that. I wanted 2 years ago, but I found more satisfaction in getting old ones that were kind of headed for the dump and rebuilding those, fixing them up and getting them to spin. I found more satisfaction in that, taking something that somebody was going to throw away and making it usable again, and then passing it on to somebody else. So, okay. Let's see. Stevie B has asked, in levels, combine mode, add, subtract, itself, etc., are self-explanatory. However, how or when would the multiply option be used? Okay. I'm going to defer this question to a video I created several years back. It's about a 40-minute video, and that should give you some clue as to why I'm deferring to that video, because the explanation would be really, really long, and I'd never get to the rest of these questions. But what Stevie's talking about is you come down here into the Components tab, and you've got, I'm going to use level because I don't have any 3D models out here, okay? Select the level, right click, and your combine mode. You have add, subtract, and merge. Those are more or less self-explanatory. Then down here you have multiply. Basically when it is used is when you have several components or several levels and you want to, of various heights, and you want to multiply them by a number to bring them all down to within a certain tolerance. You're adjusting, it's a way to adjust heights between components and levels or levels. So I have put a link in the description of this live stream because you were here before it happened, Stevie. After this live stream is over, you'll need to refresh to be able to see it down in the description. But I put a link to a video I created, an intro to the multiply toolpath, where I go through and I explain the entire process, what it does, what it doesn't do, when and how you would use it. So that link is in the description of this live stream right now. So because it is really something, and there you go. Multiply combine mode video. Steve's already put a link in the chat, but it's really something intricate. So, all right. Let's see here. Let's get to, okay, Ed Appleton says, in an earlier video, you mentioned a technique of setting your Z0 by putting a bit fully into the spindle, move to about an 1/8 inch above the material or bed, drop it down, and then tighten. What are the downsides to doing this? In order to do this, and this was a technique that was shared with me by a online buddy by the name of John. He runs a company called Labels Extreme. And I will put a link to Labels Extreme YouTube channel in the description. As soon as we're done live here. John is an absolute artist when it comes to doing inlays. He creates mother of pearl and stone inlays for guitar bodies, guitar fretboards, and he makes little truss rod covers out of, again, mother of pearl, turquoise, a whole bunch of different materials. He has one CNC router, a very small one, that's dedicated to cutting out the mother of pearl parts. And he goes through 1/2 and 1/4 millimeter bits. He buys them in 10 packs. And when he gets down to 3, he orders another 10 pack. He breaks them like crazy. What you need to do, let me grab a collet in a bit here. And I'm going to use my 1/2 inch just simply because it's easier to see. The technique he taught me was to put your bit in the collet really loosely so that you need to be able to make sure that that collet can slide freely on that bit. Put it in there loosely, drop your Z down to where it touches the material and that bit slides up into the collet just a little bit. You can't see that because I'm way too far away. Slide your Z down using incremental steps to where that bit slides in there just a little bit. Then tighten it up with your fingers, snug it up, raise your Z, then tighten it. Let me back up. Bring it down until that bit slides up into the collet just a little bit. Tighten it up by hand. Set your Z0. Then lift it up and wrench tighten it. And your Z0 is set. Carrie Castella says, I do that on my PC boards, the drill bits only. Yes. So that's done, but it is critical that you be loose enough to where it'll slide through like that. And I know what that looks like. Get your mind out of my gutter. Okay. It's critical because if you don't, you will shatter one of those bits. You'll shatter it like, I'll put it to you this way. I was opening the container of a 23 thousandths diameter end mill to carve fret slots in a fretboard. I was just taking it out. It slid out of the container, landed on the ground, shattered into 3 pieces. So it never even saw the chuck. You'll now notice in all of my videos, I have an old mouse pad, or actually, Ellen is here, Madra. She sent me this mouse pad. I now do all my my tool changes over this mouse pad so that doesn't happen again. Because it does happen. You will drop stuff. Thank you, Ellen. Very much. Appreciate the heck out of it. But yeah, get you an old mouse pad, put it underneath there. So the cons. What's bad about doing it that way? You can still shatter a bit if you go too far. What you need to do is make sure that the bit doesn't go all the way through the collet like so, because it's going to bottom out on the taper. You want it to be at least 2/3 into the collet. That's where I usually put mine, so that we've got about that much clearance. But so long as you've got 2/3 of that shank in the collet, then tighten it up, you're fine. So, all right, here. Let's see here. Kilroy says you need to add that as merch. I guess I could if anybody would want one. I do offer merch. It's over on my website. I don't advertise it. I don't talk about it. But basically, right now it's limited to T-shirts and coffee cups. And on some of my videos and live streams, you'll see product links down here somewhere. It's another separate company through YouTube. I do hoodies and long sleeve T-shirts and zip up hoodies and pullover hoodies and things like that. But I find they're more expensive because YouTube wants their cut. I find they're more expensive than the ones over on my website. So I guess I could add that merch if there's any interest in it. But mousepad, great marketing for your video. I stole that unashamedly. I stole that from this old Tony. It's become a meme on his channel. If you watch his videos, the word subscribe will be somewhere in one of his videos. Now you got to find it. So let's see. Why not push it all the way in position to just above the material, loosen the nut and let it fall onto the material about a 16th? Yeah, you can do that if you want. You can do that if you'd like. Either way, you're getting the same end result. You're not putting pressure on the tip of that bit, and that's what'll shatter a bit. And John, Steve's already put up the link to Labels Extreme here in the chat. I'm also going to put it in the description. I will also put a link to one video he did where he goes through how he does those, how he creates them, and you can see how slow these bits run. And he shows a bit breaking. He's running single digit feed rates. I think all of it's done metric, and I'm an imperial guy. I believe it translated to like 4 inches per minute is how slow he's running these bits through mother of pearl, and very, very shallow pass depths. So it takes several passes to get through these. And he's working on a piece about the size of a deck of cards, but he details all of this in this video. I'll go look for it. I don't remember which one it is, but I'll know it when I see it. And I'll also link it down in the description. It's great. It's a great, and the guy is a total artist. When you see this guitar he built, it's just wow. Okay, Greg over at STL is saying Mach 4 is what is used with Avid. They have recently dropped all of the all support for Mach 4. They'll still support it if you have it, but they're not going to be updating it or upgrading it. They've switched over completely to the new EX system, which uses Avid's profile for Centroid Acorn. That's what I've swapped over to. There's a learning curve involved, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Brooke says, cool. I wonder what he uses for glue. He glues the mother of pearl down to a piece of 1/4 inch thick MDF with regular wood glue. Then he clamps that MDF down onto his table. He cuts out his parts. Then he basically soaks the MDF off of the mother of pearl and takes out the pieces with tweezers. To glue it into the fretboard, he uses epoxy. So, all right. That was a lot further than I had intended to go, but that's okay. Let's see. Michael Ludwig is saying, is there a way to stop the circle indent in a corner on a kitchen door when I carve it with a 1.5 roughing pass and a flattening bit? Say 24 by 15 door with a 2-inch border. Are you cutting like a raised panel, Michael? Or a flat panel inside? Or I don't understand. I'll need a little bit more detail on that. Let's see here. Dennis Huddleston. I'm building my own design CNC, very like the Avid 4x4. Avid uses NEMA 34 motors, and I'm using NEMA 23. Avid also uses NEMA 23 motors. NEMA 34 is an option. Okay. Will I be seeing a great amount of difference in speed that I can push my machine? Yes. I don't know what the top rapid rate for the NEMA 23 motors on an Avid is, but I know that with my NEMA 34s using the Avid controller, I have my rapid set at 600 inches per minute, but I have bumped them up to 1,000 inches per minute. That just scared the holy hell out of me. So I backed it back down to 600 inches per minute. They're perfectly capable of doing 1,000 inches per minute rapids. It's just that's a lot of weight to be slinging around that fast. Okay. Here's the thing. Rapid rates do not equal cutting rates. Your material dictates the cutting rates. I can surface a piece of material at 300 inches per minute, do it all the time. I can do pocketing with, say, a 1/4 inch bit at 180 inches per minute, do it all the time. However, if I'm V carving or 3D modeling, it's still a slow process because the material is going to dictate how fast I can go. So speed does not always translate to carving. Okay. Speed does not always translate to carving. Your material and your material and your bits are going to dictate how fast you can move. So, have you cut anything on your CNC since you switched over? Yes, I have. I've done a few test carves. I have not videoed any of that. I'm still testing and still learning the software. It's a lot to wrap your head around. Trust me. It's a, I, my progress has, I started with Mach 3, moved up to Mach 4. Now Centroid Acorn is completely different. It's a whole different system. But this is the same system that you use on big industrial machines. So if you go out and buy a machine like Morbidelli that doesn't have their own proprietary software, Centroid Acorn is usually what they'll use. Thermwood and a couple of others also. The big, 6 and 7 digit machines use this software. And it's a tank, I'm here to tell you. Oh man, it will it doesn't care. It just moves through everything. Finding a controller for the NEMA 34s wouldn't be difficult. Just know that they're going to be pricey because you're talking about different amperages and various thises and that's. So that's why they're expensive, and that's why the controllers are expensive. Okay, let's see here. All right, Michael, let's see if you have thrown in a little bit more information. Okay, you're using a flat 1/4 inch depth. Okay, if you're talking about, Michael, let me get over here into Aspire, go back to the design tab, and this works in VCarve as well. Let's just say for giggles, that's your panel. Whoops, nope, I want to go square corners. There we go. Apply, close, and center it up. All right. Let's just say this is your panel, and you're getting kind of a dimple in the corner where you're plunging in. Down here, actually, because that's where my XY0 would be. You're getting a circle here. Try ramping your plunge moves. If you're doing a flat depth of 1/4 inch to make like a flat panel door with a frame around it, try ramping in your plunge moves. Okay, that'll help quite a bit. So, excuse me, man. Like I said, allergy central. If you own stock in Alka-Seltzer Plus, now's your time for profits. Man. Let's see here. I hope that answered that, Michael. But that'd be the first thing I try. Plunge, ramp in your plunge moves. Man, there we go. All right, Tom Heavy. I'm going to say Heavy unless I get corrected. And forgive me, butchering names is my thing. In Vectric V-Carve, I have been using the modeling toolpath to create the form of a seat, okay? A lot of the toolpath goes off the material. Is there a way to reduce this to speed up the runtime? Well, yes. How are you? Let's see. Let me bring this back, and we'll come over here, and we'll go into. I'm just going to use a finishing toolpath. It'll be the same in the roughing toolpath. How are you setting your machine limit boundary? Are you setting it to model boundary, material boundary, or a selected vector? Okay. I tend to use selected vectors. And then what you'll do, let me close this real quick here. Let's say that this rectangle represents my model. All right. I would draw another vector around it. Offset out a little bit. Here, let me just do it this way. Let me get rid of this rectangle rather than simulating. Let me come over here to clip art, and we'll use our old buddy Wally Gator. And I'll make him a little bit larger. Shaboom. Okay. Now I know that the form that you're using in a seat, that's kind of out on the edge. It would be out here towards the bottom of the seat, I'm guessing. Okay. What we do is I've got my model selected. We come down here. The icon is the same in VCarve and Aspire. And this is create a vector boundary around the selected component. So all I do is I select the component, my 3D model, and I create that vector boundary. Now I've got to zoom in and we can see that vector. Okay. And I can do it one of two ways. I can either use this vector, and that's what is going to be carved. Everything is within this vector. It's not going to carve out here. Or if I want a little bit of space around it, I can offset that vector. Let's offset it outwards. I'll go ahead and offset it out 1/4 inch so we can see it. But this probably not be what I would do. Create sharp offset quarters if the need be, and we'll offset it. Now it's created this vector here. Okay. I can get rid of that because I don't need it. And I can get rid of that because I don't need it. I want that all to be cut as well. So close. And now when I come over here to do my finishing toolpath, I will, okay, we've got this, that, and the other. This is in my material setup. Everything looks good. I will use this selected vector. So now it's just going to carve the model all the way out to this vector. Okay. You can also use a boundary offset, but it's got to machine to the model boundary, the material boundary, the selected vector, or selected level. Now you said specifically for the modeling toolpath, are you talking about the molding toolpath? If you're using the molding toolpath, that's different. The molding toolpath is going to carve. Let me close this. Let me back out here. None of this is appropriate for the molding toolpath. Let's delete all of it. Delete. And I'll go back to this. Shaboom. Close. And we'll align it in the center. This is probably not going to work. Clip art will go into molding profiles, and I'll just choose this one here. Now, because this is so small, I'm going to resize it. Come back over into my design tab, and I'm going to size it to be 1/4 of an inch. Nah, yeah, I'll do 1/4 of an inch, 0.25, and apply it. Okay, I want to apply this to the inside of this rectangle. Okay, and so I will come over here to my molding toolpath, select my vector, select the profile, come into the molding toolpath, shaboom. It is going to carve where it's going to carve either on this profile or on the inside. Let's reverse this, reverse direction. And again, we come up with this problem. It doesn't like to do this on a closed vector. Now, in your case, I think the seat, are you using a closed vector or an open vector? Because I'm thinking for a seat, you've got it coming off the outside edge. So let me select this vector, go into node editing, and I'm just going to delete this span. Okay. You're using an open vector. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to double click this, and I'm going to bring it down to the edge. All right. Now, it's got to come out a little bit beyond so that you don't end up with the radius of the bit you're using here. Okay. But now, also what I need to look at is the start point. I've got a start point over here. That's fine. It can go in this direction. But when I look at my profile, the start point's at the bottom. I don't want it to go that way. What I need it to do, go into node editing, and I'm going to make this the start point by right-clicking, make start point. Okay. I want this to flow down this direction. I don't want it to start cutting at the bottom and move up. Okay. So now let's go into the molding toolpath. I've got my vector and I've got my profile. Now I can make it cut in, or I can make it cut outwards. All right. Let's go ahead and go with this. I've got my vector, I've got my drive wheel, everything's cutting correctly. And we'll calculate. And we see it's going to come out here. So we'll preview it. Shaboom, shaboom, shaboom. And it cut to the inside. It cut that profile. Now your question is about speeding up the runtime. A lot of this, as you say, is done off of the chair. You can get in. Let me reset the preview. I'm not going to preview it again because it's not really necessary. Select the vector, zoom in, and we're going to go into node editing. You can, while in node editing, grab a hold of this node on the vector and shorten up the distance of how far it comes off of your material, okay? And shorten this up. Did you see that guideline pop up when I moved it? Come up here like so. Come on, now you're going to make me a liar. Well, you dog. Node editing. Bring it up. Now you made me a liar. Anyway, a guideline did pop up. I'm going to click on the node, drag it up. Oh, well, no big deal. You're just shortening how far that's going to come off the front edge. Okay. So the other thing I would look at, let me get back over here into this swept profile toolpath. Another thing I would look at is you've got your tool selected, 1/4 inch ball nose, get over here into edit and look at your feed rate and your plunge rate. One thing about the software is your machine is only going to run at the speed of its slowest axis. Okay. So if there is a time in this within this tool path where you have Z moving at the same time as either your X or your Y, it's going to move at your plunge rate. Okay. Okay. So you may want to adjust your plunge rate. Now on this 1/4 inch ball nose, and this is one of Vectric's default tools. I don't use this tool normally. I set my plunge rate to be half of my feed rate. So in this case, it would be 40. Again, I don't use this, so I don't really worry about it. And that will decrease a little bit of machine time. But do know when you're talking about doing seat bottoms like this, depending upon how much sanding you want to do, it's oftentimes it's better to let the machine do the majority of the work, you know. And if it means more machine time, that's up to you. That's that balance you need to figure out. Do you want it to take a half an hour longer to carve, or do you want to spend an hour more sanding? I mean, the choice is yours. If you need to get it off of the chair or get it off the machine now, and you don't mind spending that extra time sanding, then fine. Another thing to look at, let me go back in here, is your step over. You see, I'm using 8%. 8% is going to leave a little bit of cusping and a little bit of ridges there that'll need to be sanded out. But it's also a good balance between good detail and a lot of cleanup. You can adjust that, but I wouldn't go above 10% for this. Just me talking here. Then move on with a larger diameter bit if you need to speed it up. But yeah, just generally speaking, shortening up the amount that comes off of, I mean, it needs to come off at least the radius of the bit. Probably the diameter of the bit would be better, and that would eliminate an uncut area right here on this corner. But it doesn't have to be 3 inches off the front of the material. You can drag that back so you're not cutting air for half of the tool path. So it's just that balance you got to find, and it may work for you. And again, it may not work for you. It's one of those things to play with and experiment. So, see, could use the fluting toolpath if you're trying to get a curved seat area. Maybe I never make chairs. Fluting toolpath, I won't say it won't work, but the molding toolpath would probably be a better bet for it. So, can I show that being cut? I just did. I just did. It's let me bring it back in and go into this, and let me calculate in case I didn't get that. But using my example, that's what it looks like there. So it'll come off of the front edge, but it'll still handle all of the detail. Now, it's using a 1/4 inch diameter bit. All right. That's not what I would use for this. Select, let's do I'm going to use an 1/8 inch ball nose. Yeah, 1/8 inch ball nose. That, and let's see, 25, apply, select, and the cut depth is 1/4 inch, so we're good there. Vary the step over. I'm not going to use a large area clearance tool, although I should. Yeah, I'll use a large area clearance tool. I'll use a 1/4 inch end mill. Select. I'm going to machine the flat regions, and not going to use, yeah, I'll use a machining allowance of 20 thousandths. And probably shouldn't use yeah, I'm going to go ahead and leave that 1/4 inch boundary offset. We'll calculate it, and now we see where it's going to go. So let's reset the preview, and that's our clearance pass. Clear it. Not a lot, but it's going to hog out most of the material it needs to remove. Now the 1/8 inch ball nose will come in and cut that detail. Okay. This right here would be more of the inside of a picture frame, and I would cut this all out inside. It's the same. It's not a seat. I'm demonstrating the method, not the that's not a seat. Okay. This would be like the inside of a picture frame, but a seat would be the same principle, just a different profile vector here. Okay. So I've never cut a seat. I could show you how to model one, or using the molding tool path, but I've never cut one. And I have a philosophical problem with presuming to show somebody how to do something I've never done. So, but I can show you the basics of design, just not today. We're running a little long, and I've still got 4. So, okay, I hope, Tom, I hope that answers your question there. So, let's see. Ralph has a 3-part question. I'm looking for advice from the experts. In doing a pocket toolpath, the initial run from left to right of the project, the bit went deeper than the depth of cut of 1/8 of an inch. Okay. Later in the pocket, it happened again. In what direction should we go to try to solve this problem? Sanding will not correct this because it's a stacked text project. I double checked everything. Okay. Are you saying that this happened out on the machine, or was this in the design within the software? This happened during an actual cut, because that's different. Personally, I know we tend to go to the software first. If this is during an actual cut, I would say always check the mechanical first. Always. Did it lose steps? Was there are you using shielded cabling? Was there interference somewhere? Is your dust collection hose grounded? Are you leaning on the machine as it's cutting? Did something fall on the machine? Is there something physically inhibiting the machine? Forcing it down is different. I've heard a lot of things that are, I'll give you, for instance, you see how much hose I have on my dust collector. That's because when I bring it all the way up to this corner of my table, without that much hose, it will actually try it unsuccessfully, but it will try to pull on the top of that dust shoe. It's unsuccessful, but it still tries to pull on it. I have seen other machines. I don't know what machine you're running, but I have seen other machines where you're looking at, you're watching it cut, and if something tugs or pulls at it, it can flex the gantry. Now, these are usually on smaller hobby machines. I don't know what machine that you're working with, but I would always check the mechanical first. And one way you can do that is to, when you notice that happening, whether you continue on with the carve, or if you're practicing in scrap, after it's done, move the machine over off of the material. Go into your MDI, your manual data entry, and send it back to Z0. If you're setting your material to, if you're setting your Z0 to your material surface and you notice it's cutting deeper than what you set it at, take it off of the material, lift it up, and tell it to go to Z0. It should plunge down to the right height, but take it off the material. You don't want it to crash. All right. So always check the mechanical first. If the 99.999 recurring percent of the time, it's not the software, it's something mechanical. Check that first. Did your bit slip? There's any number of things. Have you cleaned the collet? Have you cleaned out the taper in the bottom of your spindle or router where the collet goes into? Have you cleaned the shank of the bit? What are you cleaning it with? I've become a fan of simple green. I used to use Isopropyl alcohol, I do on some things still. If it's something really tough, heck, I'll use VM and P naphtha on it. I've become a fan of simple green, and that may mean getting a Q-tip or a cotton swab or cotton bud and dipping it in that cleaner and getting up inside there. Blow it out with air, then get up inside that taper and clean it all out. There are a number of things that could cause something like this, not necessarily software related. It could be anything. Lots of variables. So again, I would check static electricity can cause things like that. Usually it causes the machine to just stop. But I have seen where it has caused interruptions in the data set that's flowing to the controller if it's in the middle of a move. But generally speaking, it will make it stop to where it's cutting shallower. It tends not to drive it deeper, but it's something to look at. My dust collection hose is grounded, not because I'm worried about explosions or anything like that, but because uh, static electricity has to have some place to go, and that's where it goes, through that ground. It doesn't have a chance to build up. It dissipates as it's being created. So, but just if I'm reading this correctly, doing a pocket tool path, the initial run from left to right of the project, the bit went deeper than the depth of cut of 0.125. Later in the pocket, it happened again. In what direction should we go to try to solve this problem? I don't think the direction has anything to do with it. Something else is going on. Yeah, something else is going on. I would always check the mechanical first, especially if it's been a while since you've checked things. If I'm going to do a particularly long run, I've got something 4, 5, 6 hours, something like that, that's going to run. I'll actually go get out my torque wrench and the proper tools, and I'll just walk around and tighten stuff up. I very rarely find anything loose, but we've got a lot of moving parts on these things. They're going all over the place. And you add in vibration from your spindle or router, the tool that you're using, it's under stress as it's cutting through things. Things are going to loosen up. And if it's been a while, get in there and tighten everything up. Then you can get into machine calibration for your controller. Uh, go to the support community for your controller and ask um, about the calibration routine for that controller, and make sure when you send it down a quarter of an inch, it's going a quarter of an inch and not like 0.28. You know, um, I think by direction he meant where to look and correct the issue. Yeah, I mean that's possible. I'm trying to I'm trying to think of variables as I'm going along here, but I don't think it has anything to do with the software. I think this is hardware related because think of it this way: software settings don't reset themselves unless you're Microsoft, in which case updates can do strange things. But if you haven't had this problem in the past, ask yourself, what have I changed that could cause anything? What have I changed since the last time I did this? All right. If this is your first attempt, you've got no baseline. If you have done nothing, if you have made no changes, check the mechanical. I always check the mechanical first because I find that 99% of the times it is a mechanical issue. Again, software settings don't change themselves. You have to physically get in and change something. And if you've had success in the past, look for what you have changed since then. And if you've not made a change, check over your machine. It could be anything from a dent in the touch plate you're using to set your Z0, or maybe your Z0 when you set it didn't take. But if this is something that is a problem that occurs while the toolpath is running, something is causing it. Something is causing it. Check the mechanical. So, absolutely. Clean and lube per the manufacturer's directions. Yes. That's my first um, that's my first place. And tighten things. Get out the wrenches and tighten things up. You may find nothing loose. But believe me, taking a few minutes at the beginning of the day to go around and check with a wrench beats the hell of suddenly finding another bolt dropping onto the floor or on your machine table. It's like, oh hell, where'd that come from? You know, and I say that as a guy who's done that. It's like, oh, I heard something. Where'd that come from? Oh, it came from there. Panic stop. Dion says, my biggest issue is bad feeds and speeds. Bit heats up, then call it, loosen bit. I frequently measure bit temp with an IR temp gun. Okay. If your bit is heating up to the point to where it's heating the collet up, excuse me, the first thing I would do is slow down the RPMs. That's the first thing. Okay. You should, after you're finished cutting, you should be able to, and your spindles and router stops, of course, you should be able to comfortably hold that in your hand. It's okay if it's a little bit warm, but it should be roughly not much more than room temperature. Okay. Number one thing that will cause a bit to heat up like that is an RPM that's too high. And we tend to run higher RPM than we need to. And if you look at a lot of these bits, they will have a max RPM setting. If you're going to run at a high RPM, you need to be moving at a fast feed rate. But then you got to watch out for pass depth, because if you attempt to cut too deep, too fast, even at a high RPM, that's when you start breaking stuff. So the first thing I would do would be reduce the RPM if your bit's getting that hot. And take notes. Keep notes. You've got an IR temp gun. Perfect. Take notes. This was the RPM that I ran it at, and this is what the temp was. Now drop that RPM 1,000, just by 1,000 RPM, and see if that brings it down any. Okay. Don't adjust your feed rate or anything. Just bring it down 1,000 RPM and see if it changes anything. So, what would you use to clean the areas of your machine that you can't get to? Similar to brake cleaner or WD-40 they use in the auto trade. There are certain places that you can't get to, like on a linear bearing, you can't get underneath and inside the bearing, but the bearings have wipers on each end. I wipe that down. I wipe down the linear rail. Then I move it and wipe down the area of the linear rail that the axis was just parked at, wherever I couldn't get to it. Check with your machine manufacturer, because every machine manufacturer has a different protocol. Some will tell you to use an oil. Some will tell you to use a silicone spray, which I hate. Avid says to use a lithium grease, which I use. People say, oh, that attracts sawdust. Yeah, but you're not lubing the whole linear rail. You're lubing the bearings. Grease gun, 3 pumps, that's it. Done. You're lubing those bearings. You're not lubing the entire linear rail. Check with your machine manufacturer. There shouldn't be too many areas that you can't get to, but like on a linear rail, I would just wipe it down, not use any kind of cleaner on it. But if you need to, if you've got stuff caked on there, your machine manufacturers, the people, they built it. They would know best. And believe me, they probably have a protocol. So, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with WD-40. Sometimes it's great, but I think people use it for a lot of things it shouldn't. It's not really appropriate for. It's not really a lubricant, not much of a lubricant. For that, I will use. I do not like silicone dry lubes, the spray type, but they have their place. Like door hinges, perfect. Things like that. But I don't use it in my wood shop just simply because it causes finishing problems to no end. So let's see here. All right, I think. Yeah, Kurt, it's one of those. Oh crap! Bolt drops, then you hear it going through the dust collector. Well, actually, that narrows down where the bolt came from, so that is a help. So, 3-in-1, or something highly overlooked, just good old fashioned mineral oil. You've heard of light machine oil? About 50-50. About 50% of the time, light machine oil is at least part mineral oil. There may be some petroleum distillates in there as well, but about half the time it's there. It has some mineral oil in it. It has several uses, but okay. I want to go ahead and wrap this up. I saw a little discussion about seat bottoms in earlier from Miss Kimberly, who is a channel member. All of these fine folks that you see in the chat over here, yes, that have a little star next to their name, they're channel members. They're some of the few, the proud, the elite, and just damn good people. Um, I saw Kimberly ask a question about doing a seat bottom. If that's something you want to explore tomorrow in our members only live stream, shoot me an email. Let me know. Yes, 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 please. If not, then we'll move on to something else. Basically, um, members, it's up to you what we do tomorrow. So let me know what you want to do. Let me know what you want to see. I have a couple of things in the back of my brain. We can do something. So if you don't, if and remember, check the community/membership tab on my YouTube channel for the link to tomorrow's members only live Q&A, not a live Q&A, live stream. If you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you'd like some information, maybe you want to join up and be a channel member and get access to the super secret Facebook group and the messenger chat where we have a lot of fun. We'd love to have you join. We've got a great group of folks. Channel member John made me this killer logo that I still haven't had time to hang back there behind my camera, but I will get there. Just click that join button down there below this video panel. Another panel is going to pop up and a video will play to tell you all about channel membership. Again, we've got a great group of folks and we'd love to have you join us. It is a great group in that there are no egos. Our unspoken mission statement is to help one another to succeed. And it's 100% positive support. They're a great group of folks that I'm very, very fortunate to be associated with. And thank you, channel members, for what you do. I really, really appreciate it. So next week, I hope to have a video up. I'm going to do more. I'm going to explore the rotate selected objects tool and the mirror selected objects tool. Again, the link to my video on the multiply combine mode is already down in the description. I'm going to put a link to Labels Extreme, John's channel, and in the description, as well as the video where he shows his process for cutting mother of pearl inlays for extremely intricate inlays on guitar fretboards, guitar bodies, and guitar headstocks. The man's a serious artist. It's about a half-hour long video, but you'll absolutely love it. So until next week, thank you for spending part of your Sunday with me. I have a lot of fun with these live streams, and it's thank you for everything. I mean, I don't really talk about this much. I went over 52,000 subscribers over the I want to say last Friday, which is something that I never expected. I thought if I got 500 or 600 when I first started this out, that would be mind blowing. 52,000 of you folks really just kind of says, whoa. So thank you for everything. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for sharing the videos. And thank you for your comments and your questions, because you folks make this fun. All right. It's never been about me. It's always been about y'all. So channel members, I'll see you tomorrow. For everybody else, I will see you next Sunday. Y'all take care.